Hey everyone, today we talk about speed versus quality. What happens when you go too fast, and is there such a thing as too much quality? And today's guest really guided and mentored me when I first started out as developer. And he's now my direct colleague and friend over here at Xebia, Albert Brandt. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube, and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Enjoy!
Welcome to Beyond Coding, a dive into the world of successful people in IT. From your sponsors, Xebia, creating digital leaders. Here's your host, Patrick Akil.
Hey Albert, how's it going?
Hi Patrick.
How's it going?
It's going fine.
We've been talking a lot actually already before this episode, so I can't wait to start.
Yeah.
I invited you on to talk about speed versus quality. And how we hopefully can get to a place where we have both even though it's kind of unheard of for some organizations. But let me kick off the topic and ask you, what's kind of the fastest you've gone within a product development team?
Okay, yeah, that's already a very interesting question, Patrick. You said we wanted to do another question. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. So maybe we first should start with what does speed mean? That question.
Yeah.
So speed for many companies is essential.
Yeah.
You're moving in a competitive market, and it's really important to deliver new features to users to make your customers happy.
Yeah.
That's only possible when you are going faster, or at least that's the idea, that you can only do that when you go faster than your competitors.
Yeah.
Looking at speed, well, one important part is that you just want to implement something really fast. And when you do that, then you need to exactly know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, then you just have to assume your way through a lot of stuff. Often you have to cut corners.
Yeah.
Cutting corners is sometimes essential.
Yeah.
Especially when there are so many edge cases that you have to think about. Sometimes it's just go with. I'm happy when it works in my case, in the cases in my head, or it works if the customer is happy with it. But of course, that introduces a lot of pain points. The first thing is, of course, technical debt.
Yeah.
Technical debt. If you are going fast, then there are a lot of things that you didn't really think through properly. You can do this. You can make the wrong assumptions on many levels, of course. So, I like to start most of the time. I like to start with a proper data model.
Yeah.
So the data model for me is the source of truth in my application. So if the data model is wrong, of course, every model is wrong, but some are useful, right? If the data model is wrong for its intended usage, then that will lead to pain points later.
Down the line.
Yeah, down the line, right? If you can go fast right now, but it will slow you down later, then what was the use of going fast
exactly.
in the first way?
Are you then really going fast, or?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like Max Verstappen doing great laps, and then in the last lap, bam, he smashes into a wall. Yeah, then you still lose all the advantage you built up.
Yeah.
So it's not only important to go fast.
Yeah.
But maybe it's a good idea to just give an example of how fast you can go.
Sure.
And this is I've been a colleague of you for a long time, of course.
Yeah.
But this was before I went to Xebia, and there was a customer at a previous company, and they really wanted to have something delivered in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And normally, we did such projects in 3-4 months.
Yeah.
So it should have. They simply said, well, can we get this in 3 weeks?
Yeah. Sounds unreasonable.
Sounds
I guess.
very,
Yeah.
very, very unreasonable. But
Yeah.
why not?
Okay.
They paid really good.
Yeah.
It's the classical project management triangle.
Yeah. Throw more money at it.
Yeah. You can get it good or fast or cheap, and choose two. So they said, okay, we'll try to not choose good, but we want it fast and cheap, right?
Yeah.
Then they made this trade-off, or at least the company that wanted to do this.
Yeah.
They made this trade-off, and eventually we did it in, I think, 4.5 weeks.
Okay.
Instead of 3.
Yeah.
And they were okay with it.
Okay.
It's
you cut like 66% of the time out.
So it seemed, right? So it seemed. But yeah, we eventually learned that this was actually not their. This was not the end goal.
Yeah.
This was just a sort of a proof of concept to get a feet on the ground at a bigger client.
Okay.
So the bigger client chose them, and they chose us again to make it better,
make it scale.
And then it slapped us in the face, right? It
Yeah.
slapped us in the face. So that was kind of a lesson like, okay, so every time you say I want to go fast, you really have to really have to clearly explain that you're going to cut corners, that you're going to deliver something that is it doesn't have a set of other qualities that you normally would deliver. And of course, sometimes these things get lost, right? Especially when you have a separate sales manager that simply overpromises.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was an interesting project. So, but the interesting thing is that when you go fast, when you're doing development, and you're doing development all day long, then you need the right environment, right?
Yeah.
You need the right environment. So, for me, that's personal. For me, that's working together with colleagues.
Yeah.
And that is definitely a way for me to have some energy at the end of the day. So if I would work all day long on separate projects or separate problem in a separate problem space, then my head explodes. And at the end of the day, I feel miserable.
I get that.
Yeah. But if I have colleagues around me and I can constantly vent out that something bothers me, or there's something wrong, or there's something that I want to investigate that isn't really clear, then that gives me the confidence that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Even though my colleagues don't know either the right answer.
Exactly.
But at least
they ground you.
Yeah, they ground you. It can be if you're searching for a kind of solution, it can be helpful just to do the rubber ducking. At the just talk to the rubber duck, or talk to a person who acts like a rubber duck. Yeah, don't be a rubber duck.
Yeah. I get that. I mean, if I think about it, some advice that someone gave me when I was looking to join a different company way back when is there's going to be 3 things you look at, right? What you're doing, so more on a day-to-day thing, and then the why you're doing this. Could be a personal gain, could be even the greater good, right? That the company has as a mission. And the people you're doing it with, right? Because those are the people that you're going to sit with day to day. And those can really, normalize your ups and downs, and hopefully only the downs, right? You want high highs, but not as low of a low, I guess, that you would have otherwise.
Yeah. So, if you're in a bigger setting with multiple teams, then that might be easier. But sometimes, you're really confined in a very small space. Not physically, but mentally, and there's not that much room, also in the heads of other people around you to make to get your ideas through, and to make sure that it works for you. So going fast is mentally very very heavy.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, the if you can get into the flow,
yeah,
and that is the flow is maybe it's for everybody it's different.
Yeah.
For me, it's really if I get a nice problem and it's all. I know how to solve it, but not quite entirely yet. But I have the feeling that I can solve this.
Yeah.
Then for me, this is really I can really get into the flow.
Yeah.
And looking in at past 2 years with the pandemic, or almost past 2 years, I think that is really has become pretty tricky to get into the flow.
Yeah.
Especially when you're at home.
Yeah.
I have 3 young kids.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that I have them, and I wouldn't. This is okay, but I have to mix my private life a bit with
your work life.
With the work life,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's really hard to then get into the flow. So sometimes I don't follow the get into the flow strategy at all.
Yeah.
I just write down what I think is best to do and do it whenever I definitely can get into that flow. And that might seem unproductive, but I actually do all the thinking.
Exactly.
But I do already do it at other moments in the day, or at other days in the week. Right?
It's more distributed.
It's a bit distributed.
Yeah.
And I think that is very. It's always very helpful to just have a notebook at hand somewhere and just jot down whatever thoughts you have about the problems that you see, or easy to just draw a diagram or whatever you fancy, something that works for you, to just make sure to get it out of your head, because that cleans up. It's actually a classical way of getting a bit more peace in your head, right?
Yeah,
just
writing it down.
Yeah, just write it down.
Yeah, I think that's completely fine now that we're working more remote nowadays.
Yeah.
But moving back to kind of the speed versus quality aspect, a lot of things that you said actually align with when I went the fastest, or at least the kind of image I have in my head. I was in a team with colleagues I already was familiar with, right? I knew what I had with them, what they were good at, what they were less good at, and they knew the same for me. We had a certain amount of autonomy, and we had that kind of mindset and ownership of the thing we were building. And it was a proof of concept, or you can name it a proof of concept. It was an experiment, but we knew we were going to throw it in the trash. So that's very important there, right? Your proof of concept, all of a sudden it needed to scale for some reason. And you probably didn't know that, otherwise you would have made some different decisions. But for me, it was to be thrown out in the trash, right? Yeah. So we could do the minimal quality and obviously gain then the fastest speed and the fastest output for the thing that we were building.
Yeah. But didn't you have any discussions with the potential, I guess this is for a client work. Didn't you have any discussions, or did the client have any discussions about shouldn't we? It feels so wrong, right? You do all kinds of work. You build something, it works for them. Okay, it's a proof of concept, but hey, you can clickety click and it does bloopity bloop on the server, and
for us it was kind of the tool was for market research, right?
Yeah,
so it was on a tablet. People were really good, just going to aggregate data. Yeah, for us, it was, we didn't even have to question it. It was really just, this is the goal, then it's done also. Yeah, because it's about that data.
Yeah. If it's a fixed a fixed goal, it's just for supporting getting. That's understandable.
But I think it goes into a problem because, as you mentioned it, a lot of organizations see all of a sudden a certain amount of value in a proof of concept. Yeah. And then even the corners that were cut need to scale. Right. Yeah. And if you have a table without legs and all of a sudden they're like, stack it as high as possible, it's gonna burn down at the end.
Yeah. Or now produce 1,000 of them.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that, well, maybe it's the classical example of that business doesn't exactly understand or doesn't have the same word for something that people with a technical background have. So, I see a proof of concept exactly as the 3 words that are proof of concept. It's proof, that some concept works.
Exactly.
So if you have proven that your concept works,
Yeah.
then you can throw it by the trash. But
Yeah.
it feels like that a proof of concept which actually works,
Yeah.
that it has more value. And that is actually a very interesting question. So should you always try to strive to keep all code working at the end of the day?
When is it done?
When is it done? When can you?
Or even when is it dead?
Yeah. When can you stop maintain it? So that's of course a very important question nowadays. So we try to implement software and we try to reuse software. That's of course always has been a difficult question. How can you reuse software for the best? Then of course that software needs to be maintained.
Yeah.
But we don't often talk about when is it done? When is it finished?
Exactly.
When can we shove it to its grave?
Yeah.
And I think that we should actually have better discussions about that. On especially on the business level. And of course, that again triggers. I guess that it will trigger discussions about, for instance, rebuild versus evolutionary build.
Yeah.
We all saw that that most rebuild projects rebuild projects are implement something that looks like what it is, but then with new features and do it all at the same time. Let's say,
kind of a new version.
Let's call this a digital transformation.
Oh yeah!
Ouch! It costs so much money.
Yeah.
And in the end, is it worth it? That's a really important question. So often the person who has to pay for it is not the person who makes money of it. And is in a different team or on a different level. It's on a management level. It has been chosen. On a technical level, you can
make it happen.
They'll just make it happen. But sometimes whatever you have is fine. But sometimes you also have to accept the fact that
it's not fine anymore.
It's just not fine anymore, and there's no real good solution except for rebuilding it, or just creating a real new version that has a certain feature set that isn't evolutionary possible.
Exactly. That happens a lot. That where like at some point a company is like, man, what we have is just not good enough anymore, right? We have competitions; they're going faster. How can we catch up? Oh, by restarting. But I really think it comes into the quality aspect of what they're building initially, right? Because I think the more quality you build initially, right, if you're starting out greenfield and you're doing product development, the more it has to do with your longevity of your product. Right? I don't have any data on that, but I think higher quality also would mean higher longevity, in which you can basically maintain a stable speed, hopefully a fast one, longer down the line without having to rebuild what you already have.
Pretty important, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. It reminds me of this American company Uber. A talk a couple of years back already, where they one of the the team leads he showed that they had to scale, and they had to scale incredibly fast. So every year they had at least twice the amount of users, traffic, everything. That's really amazing, because
it's challenging.
It's exponential, right? So in the beginning, it's like, okay, we can trade in this not so great NoSQL database for something cache layer or something custom. But if you have to do have to scale up twice every year, then at some point you get stuck, or at least you have to do some really weird stuff to make it work. And their stack was, I'm not entirely sure anymore, but they made some wild choices in the beginning. So some not too low level programming languages. I think they even maybe also used PHP at some point for some REST APIs, and they just kept it, but then just made all the underlying layer just faster and faster and faster. And that's at some point you get into such amount of speed that it's unfeasible to rebuild it Because you have to skill up.
Exactly.
But rebuilding it means that you are busy for a year, and then you just have to hope that it will be faster than before.
Yeah.
So that's an incredible hard problem there.
Yeah, and
but
a huge investment also.
And investment, yeah. But maybe most companies are not Uber, or Facebook,
exactly.
And then it's a different story, right? Because you can, if you just look at the performance metrics, then you can just find something that is okay enough, and maybe you can scale a little bit better. But most of these problems are non-existent that those big boys have.
Yeah, if we're looking back at that triangle for like money, quality, and speed, it reminds me of a process where we were also going really fast, but we had a lot of off-the-shelf stuff, right? Things that were already battle tested, but we didn't have to rebuild it, right? We could take it off the shelf, hook it up, and all of a sudden we had kind of an e-commerce application with a lot of content and a very minimal stack, right? Yeah. And the goal was to scale in a multitude of countries, which we could do because we could just spawn more entities off the shelf, basically. I think companies forget that a lot of stuff is already out there, and for some reason we were building like a lot of it continuously.
The not invented here syndrome is everywhere. Absolutely. And especially when you look at an evolutionary aspect, then not invented here is really hard to battle, because if a company has a certain way of working, and all the developers already have tools, custom-made tools for them, then it's really hard to say, okay, those tools, maybe we should throw them out. But definitely, it's all about making hard choices. But also, it could be that you are in a domain where there's no tooling for your problems. Right? But I've seen almost in every company that I came was some kind of a build tool, either on in the pipeline or on a local machine. Those things are, I would say, they are a solved problem. Please don't do this again.
Exactly.
But of course, if you want to have feature X and Y and Z together in that tool, then probably it's hard to find exactly the tool that does that. But then maybe you have to say, let's just skip feature Z and just go with feature X and Y. Or
it should be kind of part of your core business and your focus as a goal to solve that, and not do X, Y, and Z plus also 5 different applications, because split focus is no focus, basically.
That's a good one. I was triggered by what you said about your team, that you had your friends around you, or let's call them friends, colleagues that were that you could almost call friends, or at least do a beer with, something like that. I think that is a really important part in how a team works. You can actually go really fast if you are really well played into each other.
Absolutely.
If you have trust, and not only the trust from each other, but also trust from outside. So if the team is trusted with that they can deliver, and everybody in the team trusts each other, like there's nobody who does tricks or has his own agenda. That's great, and that is absolutely a really important factor in going faster. By no means I'm promoting the Agile Manifesto here. But it's really important that people go over the processes. The processes should be there, but they should be facilitating that people can work better together.
Exactly.
And I think that most companies, as a sort of reflex, when something goes wrong, they try to implement a new process to just make sure that this never happens again.
Exactly.
But isn't it all about trust? So the team. So let's say that you see that a team is very nonchalant about about a very critical business problem. Then you lose trust.
So it might be a risk.
Yeah. So from a business perspective, there's of course risk, and if the technical team doesn't seem to have the same perception of the risk and the same perception of what they, how fast or how well how good they should be treating this, then it's an issue.
Exactly.
So there are many ways of losing trust, but also many ways of gaining trust, of course. But in the end, you should also not be fully disconnected, right? It's not like you say, as a business, you say, I have my here are my wild ideas about how we should do this, and then the team comes by and says, now we will implement it like this.
Exactly.
Well, then you don't have any discussion. So there should be a live discussion between the trust. Between the risks and the resources and the ideas about future ideas, and that should all be thought about and all be it's not only technical, right?
We're always dealing with people at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, that's always people.
I think trust is such a hard issue for me, right? Because in some environment it's there or it's not there, and it has a long history. Probably preceding it, or even preceding you joining a team, for example. Right. And then you have the trust within your own team, right? The people that you probably talk to more on a day-to-day basis. And then even kind of the organizational trust in the point of view they have on your team specifically. And if you've performed well, probably trust increases. But if you've performed poorly, right, be it for whatever reason, maybe you didn't get enough awareness of the thing you're building, right? That it was a mission critical system and that you should have put more attention to it. Right. If that awareness is not there, people are not going to take accountability or ownership of it. It's a hard thing.
Sure. That reminds me of this Google research. Google did internal research on how well their teams were performing. And they also tried to find, the key factor or one of the key factors or multiple key factors and why some teams succeed in their achieving their goals and some don't. And one of the, of course, it's a correlation. So it's not that when you have trust, then your project will always go well. But there's definitely a correlation between the teams that do projects well, or at least within Google, then and the trust they have for each other. It's definitely something that you need to take care of. But there are so many factors that you need to take care of. Sometimes it's are we still creating software here, or what are we doing? We're trying to there are some there's a chief happiness officer, right? Somebody who keeps track of everybody and tries to make sure that everybody feels happy. Isn't that just sort of a symptomatic?
Placebo.
It's looking at the symptoms and trying to do something about the symptom, but not looking at the actual cause of for instance, the unhappiness. So I guess that some chief happiness officers look at the underlying causes. Hopefully they do.
Exactly.
But also, sometimes it's just like a company says, let's just do some fun trip and this, and let's do some party then, and then we're all fine and dandy, right? But there's some creeping.
There's a problem there.
Trust issue there that is not solved easily. So you definitely have to talk to all the developers and make sure to
figure it out basically.
So
I think it's easier when you're part of that, right, and you see those pain points or you feel those pain points. But I think it's a good thing, kind of a happiness officer. Maybe the phrasing already has a negative connotation with it. But I do think it's true that happy people are more productive. I think that's true, right? Because I've experienced it. Even you've experienced it, that when you have those colleagues, the right environment, you are more productive, or you get into a flow more easily, or I guess your output is more. Or even if it's just mentally, even if it's just a mental thing, it's already good for you as a team or as a person, right? To feel more productive. And then I think it goes back hopefully into your happiness as well.
I hope so.
Exactly.
So there has been some research last year by Nicole Forsgren, and others. They looked at GitHub. On what are the defining factors of productivity of a team. So that's of course a very important important measure, right? And of course they too came to the conclusion that it's not just one thing. It's multiple things. So there's a lot of about the environment that you need to make sure that it's there or that it works. So there's the paper, it starts with a couple of myths. So it's really important to read those myths. For instance, the first myth I think is, so from the top of my head, is that the productivity shouldn't be measured in activity, or at least it's not correlated with activity, right? So
it goes back into you kind of doing other things and thinking about something.
If you're constantly trying to extinguish fires, because you have production issues, and there's so much happening that is keeping you from just doing your normal feature work, or there's so much tech debt built up in your product, then by no means this is the right way. Yeah. So it's a great paper, by the way, the space framework. Yeah. And I think that there are many examples of these kind of frameworks or researches where they try every time they try to point out that it's not the individual. So, exactly. For instance, I hate the term 10 times developer.
Oh, you hate it?
Yeah, I hate it.
It's a good marketing thing. That's why we've used it.
It's absolutely a good marketing thing, but it's not true. So there's no such thing as a 10 times developer. Yeah. Which actually has been debunked multiple times, also by our colleague Evelyn. Yeah. Did she ever go on the podcast?
Already. But we didn't talk about that.
Okay. Yeah. So you can talk to her about it. Yeah. So the 10-time developer comes just from the simple fact that there are outliers. When you measure, there are outliers, and if you just looking at the average and looking at the outliers, I see a 10-time difference. So there is a person. There's a person that is 10 times more efficient. Yeah, and it's not the truth, right? Yeah, this is just one measurement, it all boils down to some kind of attitude or some kind of experience level that you then have. Yeah. It's much better to have a full, complete idea about what you're building than that you can go really fast.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's about, I guess, so first of all, it's whatever data you look at and how you want to interpret it, right? Yeah. But it does have to do with kind of productivity and impact, I guess. Yeah. Right. If I can make other people, by virtue of my role and my being there, I can make other people more impactful and more productive in a way, or even more happy, then I am acting as some kind of multiplier. Yeah. Right. And I don't know if that's at 10x or whatever, but it's a good thing to have that. It can even be the chief happiness officer. Yeah. Right. Yeah. They can be kind of a multiplier in making people more happy, which hopefully in turn makes them more productive. Yeah.
Yeah, but the original 10-time developer was really somebody who was capable of doing much more story points or whatever for whatever output they measured. Yeah, and that's unfair.
Exactly.
Because some people are if you have so much experience doing a certain thing over and over again, then yes, of course you can do it faster. And this is not about some generic problem solving.
Exactly.
It's a really weird space actually to try to measure something. So
a computer might even win then at the end. If it's such a simple problem, then we can probably generate some code out of it.
Yeah. So I think that the 10-time developer should already have automated everything that he or she did away, so that you would have an infinite developer, automated developer, right? That's.
So moving back to kind of speed versus quality, why do you think it goes wrong in a lot of organizations, that they cut too many corners and in the end have to redo kind of the whole thing they've built up over the years, but just by virtue of cutting those corners, I guess? And even then, how much quality is too much quality? Is there a thing as too much quality?
Well, first question.
First things first.
Yeah. The too much quality is definitely something that that I have an opinion about.
Yeah.
But when does it go wrong? It's easy because it's easy to see that, or it's not easy to see what the consequences are when going fast for a moment and cutting corners, right?
Because it's far ahead in the future.
Yeah, it's always something in the future, and especially when you do a more of a project management style. If you just have projects, then you have a fixed deadline, and you should be able to deliver. And then maybe you have some hiccups at the start of the project, and things need to speed up. And there are all kinds of reasons why this is not going to work. And at the end, if the project goals are not reached, then the entire project has failed, and maybe even you don't get the money that you were supposed to get. So there are all kinds of bad influences, but there's always pressure there. But I think that focusing too much on quality is another thing. Maybe it's an interesting analogy. So we have maybe before the pandemic we have a big issue with traffic in the Netherlands. So lots of cars, lots of people want to go to work. Lots of people live far away from their work, so they have to travel by car. We have traffic congestion all the time. Now we saw that during the pandemic, or at least at the start of the pandemic, it was solved for a while.
No more traveling.
And this actually, there's a nice model to this, again a model, which states that the amount of traffic will always be in line with the amount of roads that you have. And this makes sense, right? Because at some point people will say, I'm not going to go by car, or this is too far, or I'll just move closer to wherever I work. So there's some break-even point, right? And maybe the break-even point hasn't even
been reached
yet in the Netherlands, but we sometimes have really bad congestion. And so the model also predicts that you can't solve this by adding more roads. Because adding more roads means that at the short term,
it's solved.
But then because people notice that it's less busy on the roads, people will take those roads. Will take their cars. They will again commute more often. Thus filling those roads. And maybe it's the same with many of the quality factors, right? So you could say that let's say that you have a fixed budget and you want to spend some time on quality of a product. So you have some ideas about we definitely need to do something like test-driven development or something similar. We need to invest some time in have a continuous integration loop. Continuous deployment even. Maybe do trunk-based development to make to skip all those PRs and always do pair programming. But the fun thing is that all the time that you gain with that is then consumed by all the other things. So if you choose from a palette, right, and you say I want to have this, then automatically all the time of your project goes into that. And if you want to push the quality to a higher level, then automatically, so if you raise the bar, then automatically more time goes into that. So it's really it's a skill. So you really have to think about all the effects. So you can't go. I'm a consultant. I sometimes on a project, it's easy for me to say as an outsider, you have to focus more on the quality X because that's really important, and I'm not seeing that here. But of course, by saying that, then the time that was spent on other things moves to that. Yeah. So you don't. It's really.
You can't have it both ways.
You can't have it both ways. Yeah. Again, it's the pyramid. It's the pyramid. You can't move. You can't just pick two. There's no other way. So it's really a and of course the pyramid is really a
black and white kind of thing.
It's too simple. It has been proved that it's too simple, but there's a truth in it, right?
Sure.
So it's a rule of thumb. And with most of these quality factors, I've seen developers that say, but I'm now going to build another. So they have 10 unit tests for a class. And then they say, but I'm not finished yet because I have lots of other use cases. And they start to build more unit tests. Yeah. And at some point they have 60 or 70 unit tests. And then they say, yes, I'm finished.
Okay.
Which is good. Maybe it's a really important class.
Yeah, it depends.
It depends. Yeah. But you often only know when it's important whenever it's in production. Yeah. So maybe, spending so much time on unit testing it to get, for instance, 100% coverage was not really a good idea, because you could have better spent that time later on something else, maybe on some other test, maybe an overarching end-to-end test, or maybe on some other quality factor like. This class is part of an application that needs to run distributed. So we have to scale it, and it's not ready to scale. So let's put time and effort into scaling it, and not spend too much time on those damn unit tests.
Yeah, on those numbers, I guess. Because even though unit tests are a good thing, I think you and me both agree.
I totally agree. By the way.
That number, right? Even we laid it out before. It's the data you look at. Is 100% coverage, is that the thing you should be aiming for? Probably not, because there's a lot of things you can better spend your time on, right? Yeah. Time is not infinite, and therefore we should spend it as effectively as possible.
Yeah, it's and also, well, 100. Okay, we can spend the rest of the episode talking about unit tests, but of course, 100% unit test coverage says nothing about the.
About what's being tested.
What's being tested. Yeah, so it does say something, of course, about the coverage, but at least about the code paths. So it's, for instance, a good way, I would almost say, for a less senior person to think better about the code that you write. Yeah. But at some point, you will get at some level that you can just focus on building. That you already take all those things
with you
in your while writing the code. Yeah, and of course, then still something like test-driven development can help you. And I think it's really a great way of writing code. But some test-driven development definitely asks a lot about you, and is sometimes also not really possible in some settings. If it's not possible, then what could you then do?
Exactly. Yeah. Don't use it because you want to use it or you think it's the best way, but use it when it's most effective.
When it's effective. Yeah. So about those unit tests, I would rather see a couple of well thought through unit tests that are not covering every aspect than some all crazy 100% unit tests.
Paint green.
Yeah. And of course, unit tests are code as well. So somebody needs to maintain it.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. So, the unit test, especially when it doesn't add any confirmation about any of the qualities in your system, then you might as well just throw it away after you build your class. Because it was actually a proof of the concept of your class. Hey, it's a proof of concept.
Love it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But, maybe the speed versus quality is a false dichotomy. I practiced this word, right? Dichotomy.
Dichotomy.
Right? Yeah. I got him. Because speed isn't speed or something like velocity. Let's put an ility behind it. Isn't that just another quality? So you should actually treat it like one of the qualities of your project. and the same goes for how much does something cost? Isn't that a quality as well?
Yeah.
So paying attention to how much something costs, or paying attention to how much mental problems something can cause while pushing the envelope, right? That's also very important.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody will say, I agree. The developers shouldn't be pushed too hard, but there are so many organizations that have this classical, we're in a time crunch, so let's say that from now on everybody needs to stay until 8 or work overtime in the weekends, etc.
Yeah, or even they'll throw more people at it.
Or but luckily there's research that says that it only it only belates projects, right?
Exactly. I think it's a very good analogy to the roads thing you said, because it probably opens up a new road, which then in case also gets congested, and then you're stuck with another person that's also not as productive.
Yeah, especially because the new person, they need to be onboarded in some way. If it's somebody who is not familiar with the domain, that's an entirely maybe an entirely different problem. Yeah. But maybe if you grab some team member from the same company, right, then he or she is probably aware of the domain. But then still, there's so many intricate things that you need to learn, and so many code that you probably haven't looked at. So many pieces of missing documentation or outdated documentation that you have to work through to wrap it in your head. And you're never productive, and other people. So you have to ask other people, and other people are busy as well. So they again have to divide the work.
Yeah, same problem. Yeah. But when would you say you found the sweet spot? Then, kind of as the last question, because you come into either an organization or a team. Yeah. And then at some point you're like, man, they're moving fast and they have that quality built in, right? They have a good amount of coverage, whatever that may be. Yeah. It might be the baseline they've set, but at least they're having it. And all kind of the crucial paths are covered in the quality that they're aiming for. How do you see that? There's a sweet spot there, or what would that look like?
Yeah, it's the normal consultant answer is it depends, right? So yes, it depends. Yeah. I'm not sure if there's a sweet spot. I think even it can move while you do your things, right? Most of the time as a consultant, I'm asked to I have some experience or knowledge that is missing in a company, or they have some issue with, for instance, or maybe the speed is all right, but the quality is lacking. Yeah. So then you have to upgrade both, right? Or at least focus on the other part while maintaining the same speed. And probably by focusing on the quality aspects around speed, you increase the speed. You increase the speed at the end as well. But that's really hard to sell, right? So
and that's not as attractive.
It's it might be interesting to say I'm going to predict that you will be 10% more effective at the end, but let's not do that, because then it becomes so there can be so much reasons why this doesn't work.
But I really like that answer, because you can see it as kind of a scale, right? On quality on one end, on speed on the other, and you need to keep that in balance, right? As soon as you see it's kind of off balance, you should focus on the other one and make sure it's in balance again. And obviously, more quality also will result in more speed if you do it the right way, basically, and don't paint it green.
Again, it's the money that I find very important. As a consultant, you don't expect me to do something that someone that can be hired much cheaper can do as well. And so I have to do something that other people can't.
Effective and impactful.
Effective, impactful. And well, that's sometimes it doesn't end up the way you expect it to end up. So there are some projects that I hoped to deliver more for, but in the end, it's the company itself that is difficult to where it's difficult to introduce change,
Yeah.
Or they have some kind of traditional hierarchy, and it's really hard to break through there. And that's something that is even when telling, if we can do this, then we will speed up and we will be faster. But if the company every time says, yeah, but we have this planning, it's yearly planning, and it's already set. Everybody will work, and then they will work overtime, and then everything is fine. It will fit in this planning. Yeah, that's a pretty bad.
Exactly.
Then you have to be involved on another level, and then it's again a piece of trust, right?
Yeah.
But then it's a trust of a higher managerial level towards the teams on how they deliver and what they can deliver.
Yeah, it's a difficult puzzle at the end of the day.
At the end of the day,
we're all just humans and trying to fit it in the best we can, I guess.
Yeah.
But thank you for coming on, Albert. I laughed a lot and I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great to be here.
Yeah.
And next time we can talk about all the other things, of course.
Exactly. All the things we didn't talk about.
All the things that we didn't talk about. I have so many research papers lying around that are really interesting to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I love it, man.
Yeah.
Thanks again. And Albert Brandt, everyone.
Beyond Coding. From your sponsors, Zebia, creating digital leaders.